A very good evening and welcome to yet another edition of the S101's Visual Radio for the Newsfirst team. I'm Joe Abdeen. We start off with a look at your headlines.
Newsfirst headline.
In headlines, Angajan Ramanathan and Sarathi Dushmantha Mitrapala pledged support to independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe. UN Human Rights Report urges Sri Lanka's creditors to support country's economic and social rights. Harris takes on Gaza war tyranny in Democratic Convention finale. In sports, Shakib among 147 named in FIR for alleged murder during Bangladesh unrest. In local news, SLFP Senior Vice Chairman Angajan Ramanathan and former Acting General Secretary of the SLFP Sarathi Dushmantha Mitrapala pledged their support to independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe today. Angajan Ramanathan was elected to Parliament from the Jaffna district in the last general election, while Sarathi Dushmantha Mitrapala was elected to Parliament from the Kegol district. In more local news, the UN Human Rights Office has called on Sri Lanka's creditors to provide the government with the fiscal space needed to realize economic, social and cultural rights. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk in a new report said that economic policy decisions must align with Sri Lanka's international human rights obligations. He added that the ongoing effects of the 2022 economic crisis and subsequent austerity measures have particularly impacted the poor, especially women. A report issued by the UN Human Rights Office has also identified renewed threats to fundamental freedoms in Sri Lanka, highlighting a new or proposed regressive laws, erosion of democratic checks and balances, ongoing threats and intimidation against civil society and journalists, and the recurrence of serious human rights violations from the past. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk emphasized the importance of the upcoming presidential and parliamentary elections as an opportunity for Sri Lanka to recommit to the transformational changes demanded by a broad cross-section of its citizens, including accountability and reconciliation. The report points out several laws and bills introduced by the government since 2023, which grant security forces broad powers and significantly expand restrictions on freedoms of expression, opinion and association. Turk noted that this trend is particularly concerning during the pre-election period. Despite a promised moratorium, authorities have continued to use the Prevention of Terrorism Act to arrest and detain individuals. The report highlights recent cases of arbitrary arrests, detentions, torture and deaths in custody. The report also describes a long-standing pattern of intimidation and harassment of journalists and civil society actors, especially those working on enforced disappearances, land disputes and environmental issues. Families of the forcibly disappeared face intimidation, arrest and surveillance by security services in their attempts to seek the truth or commemorate their loved ones. In more local news, a Gazette notification has been issued reducing water and sewerage charges. The Gazette was issued by Minister of Water Supply and Estate Infrastructure Development, Jeevan Thundaman. The tariff revisions are effective from the 21st of August. Fees are reduced under the domestic, government schools, assisted schools and government-approved charitable institutions categories, excluding Samruddhi beneficiaries and estate houses. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board said the percentage of tariff reduction is over 5%. Accordingly, the fee for 0 to 5 units in the domestic category has been reduced by 10 rupees from 60 rupees to 50 rupees per unit, and the fee charged for a unit between 76 to 100 units has been reduced by 20 rupees from 270 rupees to 250 rupees. The fee of 60 rupees for all units under government and government assisted schools category and government approved charitable institutions and government hospitals category has been reduced by 5 rupees, and the new fee is 55 rupees. A unit of water used for government hospitals, which used to be 100 rupees per unit, has been reduced by 5 rupees to 95 rupees. However, the Water Board stated that no revision has been made in the monthly service charge under this water tariff revision. Up next is international news.
International news.
In news overseas, US Vice President Kamala Harris formally accepted the Democratic nomination for president with a rousing call to end the war in Gaza and to fight tyranny around the world, drawing a sharp contrast with Republican Donald Trump. On the final and most anticipated night of the four-day Chicago convention, Harris promised to chart a new way forward as she and Trump enter the final 11 weeks of the Raise a Close campaign. After days of protest from Palestinian supporters who were disappointed at not getting a speaking spot at the convention, Harris delivered a pledge to secure Israel, bring the hostages home from Gaza and end the war in the Palestinian enclave. Harris spent a chunk of her speech talking about the US economy, saying strengthening the middle class would be a defining goal for her presidency as part of building what she called an opportunity economy. She fleshed out that the vision during her speech, saying she would seek to cut taxes for middle class households, end the housing shortage, and protect pensions and health care for the elderly. Up next is your update on sports.
Sports news.
And in sports, Shakib Al Hassan is among 147 people against whom charges have been filed in connection with an alleged murder during the protests in Bangladesh in early August. An officer at Dhaka's Adabur police station, where the case was filed, confirmed to ESPN Cricinfo. The case of the death of a garment worker was filed on Thursday by Rafiqul Islam, father of the deceased Muhammad Rebel. Apart from being Bangladesh's most famous cricketer, Shakib is a former member of parliament of the Awami League, the party that was in power in Bangladesh until earlier this month. Now, Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of the Bangladesh at the time of the protests, and many former ministers and lawmakers from the party are among the accused. And with that, we wrap up this edition of the S101's Visual Radio. For the News First team, I have been Shuad Abdin. Thank you for watching, good night and take care.